Welcome to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. And now your host, Tim Johnson.
With 9 institutions and more than 91,000 students, the University of Louisiana system plays a critical role in our state's economy. We'll talk to the president of that system, Dr. Jim Henderson, when we return on this edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
The LCTCS Foundation advocates for every Louisiana community and technical college in the system to keep them on the cutting edge of training and technology. Aligned with businesses across the state, they ensure students develop the highest possible level of skills, keeping Louisiana business and industry ahead of the pack. Visit this website to support the LCTCS Foundation for a higher Louisiana for all.
Before you hire someone to work on your home or business, protect yourself. Go to lacontractor.org and make sure he or she is licensed in Louisiana. That's lacontractor.org for a list of over 26,000 licensed contractors. It's your money. Make wise decisions and protect yourself.
Today we're in Lafourche Parish, Louisiana, where we're building terraces along the hurricane levee system. These terraces will provide shoreline protection in the marsh, which will protect homes and businesses in South Louisiana.
So our terracing projects is a great partnership with industry to prove that we can help the environment and protect our levee system. Without investments from the industry and companies like Chevron, projects like this would not be possible.
In Louisiana, oil and gas and the community are all connected.
Industry partners help Ducks Unlimited do what we do best, protect South Louisiana.
Protect yourself from the headaches of dealing with a non-licensed contractor. Go to lacontractor.org and make sure the person or company who wants to work for you is licensed by the Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors. It's your money. Make wise decisions and protect yourself.
For 8 seconds in the arena before an afternoon in the field. For a promise to students that honors success in the classroom. For championships earned on the bayou. For innovators committed to reclaiming our coastline. The Universities of Louisiana. For your future. For our future.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Dr. Jim Henderson, president of the University of Louisiana System, is our guest. My friend, you're here every year for us. We talked before we started taping this morning about how much I truly enjoy these conversations. Happy to have you here today.
It's always the highlight of my year, Tim. Good to be with you, bro.
I know that's not quite the case, but I'm glad you're here. I talked about 91,000 plus students, 9 critically important institutions around our state. Talk a little bit about your mission, Jim. Just play the role that you play in our economy.
Well, a lot of people don't fully understand the structure of higher education in Louisiana. We have 2 land grant systems. LSU, a vertically integrated system, Southern, a vertically integrated system. University of Louisiana system is 9 distinct universities, each with its own role, scope, and mission. Regional universities that serve their regional economies. We have an iconic HBCU in Grambling State. 3 research universities that are plowing new ground and understanding. One just became an R1 institution, UofL Lafayette, $181 million last year in NSF reportable research. But collectively, we leverage the strength of those institutions to achieve some good for the state of Louisiana. There's some numbers around that. $10.9 billion annual economic impact, 149,000 plus jobs supported across the state of Louisiana. It is a joy to work with this cadre of presidents, probably the best group we've ever had. And really advancing work, not just for the sake of the work, but for the students we serve, the communities in which they're going to reside, work, and live.
You talk often about the leadership of those institution presidents and your working relationship with them. I know how proud you are of that group and proud to be part of that group. You think about the rebirth at Grambling under Rick Gallo. You think about the fact that, as you mentioned, University of Louisiana at Lafayette becoming being recognized as a research institution like it is, Louisiana Tech, Northwestern State, Southeastern, just critically important regional universities that while they may sit in a specific region, they all play a role in helping our state be better.
And what I love to see is how they're working together to solve problems. And you can see that in acute issues when we have a hurricane that affects McNeese, the way that all the other 8 institutions open their doors to receive students, to receive faculty, to provide services. That's important. but the way that they're working together in long term and offering programs. We're talking about a pharmaceutical incubator at the New Iberia Research Center that'll use the research expertise at UL Lafayette, the pharmaceutical sciences expertise from University of Louisiana Monroe to advance not just the region of New Iberia, but the entire state of Louisiana. Right. That's power. When you've got intellectual capital like we have, harnessing that and bringing it together is a lot of fun, because I tell you, the impact of the whole was much greater than the sum of its parts.
There's no question about that. Now, you mentioned the hurricane and its impact on McNeese. McNeese was hit by a number of hurricanes, a couple of pretty serious hurricanes. Louisiana Tech, a devastating tornado. Give us an update on both of those campuses. Where do we stand?
So from a physical infrastructure place, it's been it's remarkable. You know, Tech is virtually fully recovered from the tornado that came through. Really tore up athletic facilities for them. As a result of that, they've built a state-of-the-art women's athletic facility where you have soccer and softball using the same complex. New baseball field, and some folks in Baton Rouge may not like the idea of going back up to Tech to play baseball anytime soon.
I think there's it's Louisiana Tech 2, LSU nothing, right?
That's right. At McNeese, it's a similar story. They had a hurricane that came through, one of the most powerful to ever hit Louisiana, did severe destruction across southwest Louisiana. 6 weeks later, another storm comes, Delta, blows the blue tarps off the roof, dumps 14 inches of water into those buildings. Darrell Bacall told me he was going to be back open in the spring. I said, man, I'll support crazy, but this is crazy. Let's go do it. And he managed to lead an institution back, 90% of their structures back in place, but the people they're serving are still hurting. And I was glad to see an announcement recently of some more recovery dollars coming into that region. They're going to need more support from us, more support from the state, the legislature, the governor. They've all been very responsive to trying to meet the needs of Southwest Louisiana. McNeese is going to be central to the recovery of that area. We want to ensure that we're investing in them properly.
You know, we talk about the storms, we talk about the weather-related impacts, but we've also been through 2 years of a pandemic. We've talked about how you managed through it, Jim. Today, I want to talk about what you've learned as a leader, leading through a pandemic.
So, you know, when I'm one that loves to put people in place and allow them to do their work, and that's vitally important, especially at a university, because we have presidents at these universities. They have to be seen as the president. March 6th of 2020, we realized we were going to be in a circumstance that we had not been in before. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of variables, a lot of things coming quickly. So we did step in a little bit more directive in our approach to ensure that we're all working from the same sheet of music. We're all using the same playbook, advancing. Certainly there were some distinctions based on the regions that we were serving. But we created a framework, and I'm big on frameworks that establish parameters and say, hey guys, these are the limits within which we're going to work. This is the aspiration that's non-negotiable. These are the limits within which we're going to work. Now you can play on this field all you want to. Those parameters got a little bit more narrow for a couple of years. I'm proud, so proud of the way the faculty, the staff, and the leadership of these institutions responded, managed to continue serving students at an incredibly high level. We graduated 17,000 students in the midst of a pandemic. That would have been unheard of. And I'm so pleased at the way the faculty showed their resilience.
It really has been a success story if you think about the way education at all levels in Louisiana has managed through this pandemic. I want to take a break. We come back. I want to get into something that I know you are very proud of, you are very excited about. It's the whole idea of core competencies being developed in your students through your institutions. We're visiting with Dr. Jim Henderson. He's the president of the University of Louisiana System. You're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
The LCTCS Foundation advocates for every Louisiana community and technical college in the system to keep them on the cutting edge of training and technology. Aligned with businesses across the state, they ensure students develop the highest possible level of skills, keeping Louisiana business and industry ahead of the pack. Visit this website to support the LCTCS Foundation for a higher Louisiana for all.
Plants would not be operating if they weren't operating under the regulations to keep everybody safe and keep the environment safe.
It also goes back to the end products that our raw materials go into.
Solar panels,
windmills,
reusable bottles. Primary product is acrylonitrile, which is used to make carbon fiber.
Carbon fiber in an airplane is used to make it lighter.
By reducing weight, we indirectly help the environment because it uses less fuel. And for us to make products that help reduce carbon footprint is a big deal.
So, how can I help you today?
Maybe you're looking for a bigger home. Maybe you have plans to grow your business. Or maybe all your plans have just changed. For the better. Whether you're planning for the future or just looking for a bank that cares about you. If you have a goal, let's make it happen.
This is what you're looking for.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Dr. Jim Henderson from the University of Louisiana System is our guest. You wrote recently, and I want to read this because I want to get it right. For our graduates to be successful, they must be prepared with capabilities that technology simply cannot replace. You and your team have developed and will provide, and you'll explain this to us, development around what you're calling core competencies for every one of your graduates. And those core competencies are communication competence, critical and creative problem solving, adaptive resilience, cultural competence, and self-reflective awareness. You and I talked before the show. I've looked at this in some detail. It is brilliant, Jim. It is elegant in its simplicity. But my God, why haven't we thought about this before? I know you are excited about it. I know the team is excited about it. I know the system is excited about it. Tell us.
So I've been fascinated with this concept called future of work for a long time. And it's the future of work is a study of how technology, automation, robotics, artificial intelligence, machine learning are changing the very nature of work, changing the very nature of life. And how are we preparing students to live and work in communities that are going to be in a perpetual state of change? Now, you can go all the way back to the Luddites in the 19th century, artisans that were destroying machinery in factories because they thought technology was taking their jobs. 1930s, it was John Maynard Keynes that talked about technological unemployment. We're going to be looking for ways to spend our leisure time because machines are going to replace all of it. That's not where we are. What's going to happen is those repetitive, those predictable tasks are going to be completed by automation. And it's those human skills that we can bring to the fore, which are going to prepare us to I think, for even higher quality of life. What we've got to ensure is that every graduate we produce, whether they're a graduate from a cyber engineering program at Louisiana Tech, a naval architecture program at UNO, or a theater program at the Northwestern State University, that they've got a core set of capabilities that's going to prepare them to control their economic destination, and to contribute to their communities and contribute to their employers. This work has been a work of real pleasure for me.
Let's talk about how you developed and decided on these competencies, because they really do cover the gamut of what I believe individuals who are going to participate successfully in the economy, those skills that they need to have, in addition to whatever technical skills they might have. Talk about the process.
So we started this work, and intuitively, I kind of had an understanding where I thought it would go, where I wanted it to go. But anytime you're going to move a ship this large and get a whole population of people to go with you, they've got to have ownership of it. So I selected faculty members from across the state, some that I knew, some that were selected by the faculty senates at these organizations, presidents that had been engaged in this conversation, other academic leaders. Set them in a room and said, hey, listen, this is where I want you to take us. Have at it. And left. And for 3 years, again, with multiple disruptions from storms and pandemics, they carried on this conversation. And when Kim Martin Long, who is over the English department at University of New Orleans, presented me with their final work product, I said, my gosh, this is it. And when you see these core capabilities that have really been at the heart of the academy since our very beginnings, go back to the 13th century on the banks of the Seine River in Paris where the Sorbonne emerged. They were very similar core competencies. When you see those traditional core competencies and then the needs of employers and the needs of the workforce and the needs of our communities all of a sudden become the same, That's a powerful place to be. But it means for us, we've got to figure out how to prepare more and more students at scale so that they can take advantage of these emerging opportunities.
Well, there's so much to talk about here. So let's dive into a couple of these that I think are just really profound. Critical and creative problem solving, the ability to define and respond to problems, challenges, and opportunities by employing logical, informed, and creative solutions. Now, that's one sentence, but how brilliant is that? How comprehensive is that in terms of problem solving? Something that any of us who have ever hired anyone sort of expects that they need to be able to do.
So when you bring people and you present them with complex problems that they've got to solve, they've got to be able to synthesize great deals of information. We've got more information at our fingertips than the libraries used to have back in our day.
Right.
And so they've got copious amounts of information that they've got to put together to solve problems. And if you're an employer, you're looking for people that aren't going to create problems for you or bring problems to you, that they're willing to work with their coworkers to actually solve the problems. That's when you're adding true value to an organization, right? And so the predictable stuff, we've got that handled. It's the non-predictable stuff, the asymmetric stuff where you can have someone that's prepared to think through it in a creative and a critical way. That's when they add true value to an organization.
I wish we could dive into each of these: communication competence, adaptive resilience, cultural competence, but I want to touch on the last one: self-reflective awareness, the ability to learn, to actively pursue knowledge, and to consciously self-evaluate in current circumstances. Again, brilliant in its simplicity. Talk about it.
We don't know what we don't know.
Right.
And so many times you can come to the table thinking you're an expert on something, then you hear someone else's perspective and you realize, hey, there's a different way to look at this. We have a number of issues that we deal with, and you can see it play out on social media if you'd like. One of them is bias, right? Our own personal biases. We form our ideas around our own life experiences, around the people we live and work with, and that's great because that's what makes us communities. But sometimes it can limit your perspective. Beyond that, we have an issue called cognitive dissonance. Now, when you hold a belief or something that you think is true, and you're confronted with data or evidence that says that it may not be true, it hits you in the same part of your brain that processes pain signals. Now, when you feel pain, your first instinct is do whatever it takes to deflect the pain, to stop the pain.
Right.
That's insufficient because maybe you're wrong in your deep understanding of truth. And so the self-reflective awareness means that you're looking at your own limitations and you're willing to get other information, other ideas to the table and really make informed decisions.
What would it mean to our world if we all had the ability to have self-reflective awareness? You know what? I may not be right about this. Maybe I ought to reconsider. We got about 30 seconds left in this segment. I want to talk briefly about implementation of this.
So the implementation is going to look a little bit different at each campus and within each discipline. But at the end of the day, we're going to articulate to students what to expect, to employers what they can expect when they hire our graduates, and to faculty to be able to articulate across disciplines and across university how they are an important part in delivering these core capabilities to every student that we graduate.
Every student that you graduate. I can't wait to see how this plays out over the course of the next few years. Let's take a break. Lots more to talk about when we come back. We're visiting with Dr. Jim Henderson of the University of Louisiana System. You're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Growing up in Baton Rouge, I used to always pass up ExxonMobil, but I never thought that I would actually have the opportunity to get on. But what I thought was impossible turned out to be possible. So I just feel like it's just a wonderful opportunity to be able to provide for my family.
We are committed to being a community partner. We are actively working to recruit the talent here in Baton Rouge, and we want to bring them into our workforce. We're ready.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Dr. Jim Henderson of the University of Louisiana System is our guest. You talked about in the first segment, Jim, this prestigious research designation that University of Louisiana Lafayette has earned. You talked about some other exciting things going on in the system, but I know across the 9 universities, there are emerging programs, exciting developments taking place. Let's touch on a couple.
Well, just talking about academic programs, ULM is going to enroll this fall their first cohort in the new Doctorate of Physical Therapy program. This was Nursing Home Association, rural health folks came to us and said, listen, we desperately have to have more physical therapists. And so they're enrolling in that program. We've got expansions in cyber programs at Grambling and at Louisiana Tech, and how that whole cyber corridor, in cooperation with a school I know quite well, Bossier Parish Community College, the way they're driving cyber understanding to support Air Force Global Strike Command and business and industry. It's been a real incubator for us. That R1 designation, UL Lafayette, is one that's so important for us because the New Iberia Research Center, primate research center in New Iberia, we're going to elevate that to a biohazard level 3 site. Now, I know all of the viewers understand
exactly what that means,
as deeply as I do what a biohazard level 3 site is. Let's just say this, it's going to open the floodgates for federal research dollars to come into that institution and support it. Still doing great work on the coast, closest to the coast. Nicholls State University is the host of the John Folse Culinary Institute, but they're also doing great work in restoring that coastline for us. And we could go around each university and talk about innovations. All of them are driven by this collective mindset that we're going to be excellent within our own role, scope, and mission. We're going to be the best iteration of manifestation of our mission we can possibly be. And that's a fun place to be.
How many times have you and I had this conversation privately about this state settling for being average in the South? And why can't our goal, our vision be top 5 in America in everything we do? We've got the resources here. We've got the people. We've got the brain power. We've just settled for too long for mediocrity. And the University of Louisiana System is a shining example of trying to change that. And I congratulate you guys for leading there.
Well, one way that I try to sum it up is we can always measure ourselves from what we've been. And I prefer to measure ourselves against what we could be.
Right.
And that's a whole different game to play. It's one of our approaches in the system. The last thing we would want is regression to the mean. And that can happen sometimes when you have a statewide system of disparate institutions. Instead, like I said, we want to be the best manifestation of our role, scope, and mission.
Well, there are great things going on at all 9 of those institutions, as you mentioned, and those great things and the striving for excellence ought to make all Louisianians proud. Got 2 things I want to hit on before we end the show today, and so I want to hit on this next one relatively quickly so we can spend some time on the second one. Compete Louisiana. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of Louisiana residents who have some college, but for whatever circumstance, life gets in the way, haven't finished. You guys are addressing it in a big way, and you've had some success.
That's right. We've got about 5,000 students in the pipeline. Compete Louisiana, it knocks the barriers down to make returning to school easy for you. And listen, sometimes it was a good reason why you dropped out of school. A job opportunity might have emerged.
Family.
That's right. But now you want to complete what you started. And Compete Louisiana has a concierge that will walk you all the way through the process, makes it as simple as it could be, almost painless.
Yeah, well, and if people want more information on Compete Louisiana, just go to the University of Louisiana System.
Or CompeteLouisiana.org.
Excellent stuff. I encourage our viewers to check that out. We're in a different time. Critically important social justice issues around our country, inclusivity issues around our country. We talked about all of the things that are going on in the system that our state can be proud of. I don't know that there's anything going on in the system that could make our state any more proud than how you guys are leading on these social justice and inclusivity issues. You're proud of a lot of things, and we've talked about the things that you're proud of. I know you're proud of this too.
Listen, we view it as our role to serve all of Louisiana, and Louisiana can't achieve its potential unless all of our people achieve their potential. And so we've been very purposeful in our work around diversity, equity, and inclusion, and really empowering people with control of their own destinies, right? That's the key. And so we've got what's called the Reginald F. Lewis Educational Equity Initiative. A component of that is the Reginald F. Lewis Scholars. We have 2 rising sophomore black males from each of our 9 institutions. They're going through a curated educational experience that includes internships, externships, travel abroad, projects. We're creating the next leaders, the next representation, if you will, of excellence. And it's built around this name, Reginald F. Lewis. Reginald F. Lewis grew up in Baltimore, went to an HBCU in Virginia, was the first person ever admitted to Harvard Law School without applying. They were so impressed with him. He became a Wall Street lawyer. He saw all these guys making a ton of money. He says, you know what? I'm going to control my destiny. And so he invented the concept of leveraged buyouts, bought out European conglomerate Beatrice Foods, became the first African-American billionaire. Perfect example of resilience, of creativity, of that self-drive that is innate in all of us, that wants to be the best we can be. It's a perfect example as we're trying to solve some societal challenges, also empowering that individual with their destiny.
Well, you know, if you think about things like that scholarship program, you think about events like the Black Male Summit that you guys put together, you think about all of those things, Jim, that are so critically important to moving our state forward and helping us to realize this fabulous and fantastic God-given potential that rests here. You know, I believe that we get our act together here ever, we're going to be very hard to compete against. We got about 20 seconds left. Your message about the University of Louisiana system to Louisiana.
Well, the University of Louisiana system is integral to the communities in which we live. It's integral into the economy we're trying to drive. But more importantly, it's going to create the generation that's going to empower Louisiana to realize its potential, a potential that's eluded us for generations. We're part of the solution. With our partners at LCTCS, our partners at LSU and Southern, of course, the whole higher ed enterprise, but we think we have a very special role that we play. We're going to realize it at the fullest potential.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. I mean it sincerely. Our state is lucky to have you in the leadership position you're in, buddy. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, my friend.
That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next week at this very same time for another edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.